Infrastructure is crumbling and the problems are only getting worse. The pressure to find solutions is hot. Let's talk about why American cities have no water, no electricity, and no money to fix their infrastructure problems. Welcome to the Infrastructure Hot Seat Podcast, hosted by Chad Smeltzer.
Hi everyone, welcome to the Infrastructure Hot Seat. This is episode 11. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope you're enjoying the content. This week is our interview with Brian Jack, who's the utility superintendent for the village of Lombard, Illinois. Brian is active in the Illinois section AWWA, I should say. Wow, got some rhymes going on this morning. Brian has vast experience in water and sewer as a superintendent. Started in the village of Oak Park and then moved his way to the village of Lombard. Hope you enjoy the interview. It's great. Brian's a great guy. I've known him for over 12 years now. Family guy, has a lot of things going on and values his employees. So hope you enjoy it. Have a great day.
Thank you for joining me, Brian.
Thanks, Chad, for having me.
Brian, how long have you been in public works?
So I started in public works basically when I was in my summer between my junior and senior year in high school. I worked seasonal for the city of Oak Park Terrace, the town that I grew up in. And then went away to college, came back, started working for the village of Lombard in 1997. So this April coming up will be 26 years in the industry.
Wow, 26 years. So I saw that's a long time. I saw that you started in high school in public works.
Yeah. I was worked seasonal for the city of Oak Park Terrace, cutting grass, doing weed whacking. On special events, setting up picnics, things like that. It was good. It was right the town I grew up in, so it was right up the street, so it was good.
Right.
Good. Yeah.
It was a good opportunity, especially in high school. As we're trying to learn how to make money, and
Sure.
Seasonal work was perfect.
Yeah.
I did the same thing. I grew up in a small town, and my dad ran a wastewater treatment plant. He's like, "You're coming to work for me," that kind of thing, and I didn't want to be in sewers or anything to do with wastewater or water, but here I am now in infrastructure.
Right.
It's interesting how we all come together. So what as you've gotten more experience in public works, right, from a young age, starting working your way up, what has been some of the challenges that you've faced, being an employee, going up through the public works chain, so to speak? What were some of those challenges?
Well, I guess the biggest thing once I when I started in Lombard back in '97, I started out as a maintenance worker in the street department, and working. I was 24 years old at the time, 25.
Yeah,
and just kind of starting out, kind of getting back into the industry after being away from college. And pretty quickly, I got promoted to crew leader. I was only here about 9 months after I got hired. I got promoted to crew leader, which was difficult because this 24-year-old kid that just starts working there beat out some guys that have been here for a while. Which, I kind of was in the right place, the right time, had the right boss, and the stars aligned for it. So there was a big challenge, overcoming being a young new employee. Working with some of the old timers that, like, what does this young punk know? But that's you work through it, and I think a lot of young professionals now in the industry kind of get the same thing. They're starting out, and they get a lot of I shouldn't say a lot of flack from old timers, but they may not give them the benefit of the doubt, like they should. So.
Is it the same way now versus when I was and you were doing it when we were younger? It was more of like, you're in the hole, you're the rookie, you're in, is it the same way now?
Yeah, it's still the same. We got, typically the guys have a little more tenure, are more operators, they'll operate the backhoe of the machinery, and the young guys are down the hole, digging the holes and putting sleeves on water mains and things like that. 'Cause their bodies can take it, after, working in this industry for 20 some years. I mean, you get beat down a little bit, so
no doubt,
it's, so the longer tenure guys tend to, do more operating than digging. So, but yeah, it's pretty much, it's the same. It's the same.
Yeah. how is it as a leader? You know, you the challenge obviously of having older, um, more seasoned, guys that have been in this. How is it when you take a leadership role? How is it managing them? It's got to be tough. I think there's a way to kind of explain it. I'm trying to figure that out. Like, how did you overcome a lot of those obstacles? Because that's not easy.
Yeah, no, it's not for sure because I think the biggest thing for me is that I listened a lot to what the older guys would say. I should
That's
say
great.
older
Yeah.
guys, the more veteran.
No, you're right.
Yeah, the more
They're
veteran.
older, right? Yeah.
You listen to what they got to say, and you make sure you don't single them out and totally discount what they've done because they do have a lot of experience, a lot of knowledge that that's important. I mean, when the silver tsunami that comes that people have been talking about for a number of years now, with everybody retiring, that's a
Right.
lot of knowledge that's going to go away, and it's hard to replace that. So, being a young supervisor, you have to really listen to what all your employees say and have an open mind with things. You may have something in your head that that you want to do that may work that's different from what they've been doing for the past 25, 30 years. So don't just throw that stuff out the window. I mean, you really got to take into consideration and then once you start you doing that, you're going to gain respect from them, and then show that it's you kind of do know what you're doing, and as long as you're taking their input into it, they'll start to respect you.
Yeah, that's a good point. Is change is hard. There's no way when you're set in a certain pattern of doing things day and day, consistently every day, uh, that a younger person that's in a leadership role wants to obviously make things more efficient. I would assume I was in some of those leadership roles, and I was like, okay, how can we make this better? But you got to get their buy-in.
Right.
And that's the tricky part, right? Is getting their buy-in. Do you have a lot of that now with your leadership? Is there some young guys that are in leadership roles and in the kind of the same situation now that you were in?
As far as getting buy-in from people, or
Yeah, because obviously I would assume that your crew, you have some younger guys that are in leadership roles and maybe some older guys, kind of the same thing you went through.
yeah,
Is it kind
yeah,
of the
it's
same thing?
yeah. I think it's easy for me to help out some of the younger guys with in their leadership role because of kind of what my background is and where I came from. That I
Yeah.
went through it, and I can kind of help them say, this is what I did and this is what worked. Um, a lot of it, really is like I said before, you really need to just gather input from what they're saying, and also actually do the work yourself too. That was big for
Yeah.
me
There you go.
when I got promoted. Um, I didn't stop working with them. I was out on the street. Even when I got promoted to supervisor, I was still out on the street, as much as I could. And it got to the point where the guys, they're like, "What are you doing out here? Get back in the office. You're gonna hurt yourself." Joking. But that builds respect too, because if they see you doing the same work that you're telling them to do, they're going to respect you
Right.
for it. And especially if you're giving them something new, saying,
Yeah.
"Hey, look, let's try this," and you're actually doing the work, showing them what it is, they're going to see, okay, well, all right, this person's not afraid to get their hands dirty and wants to work
Right.
too. So, um, but yeah, so
Yeah. That's
as more time goes on and I get closer to the retirement side than starting my career, I'm enjoying the mentoring portion of it as well.
yeah.
I'm always happy to talk to people and give them advice and that I get off from what my experiences were.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Is leadership, good leadership. That's sometimes you got to get in the trenches
Right.
for real with these guys to show them that you know what you're doing, because sometimes they might doubt it. And they're like, "Oh, you've been sitting in an office all the time." I get it. It's
Yeah.
those conversations 100%
Yeah.
happen. So I can see where you have to like prove it. Not now, but back then.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Maybe
yeah. I
now.
mean,
I don't know.
I still enjoy getting out in the machinery and stuff, and like guys will come in, I'll jump on the loader and load stone up for the guys, and it's just for me. I mean, I enjoy doing that, and if you
Yeah,
don't do it for so long, you lose it. So, I think everybody who's
that's a good
operating
point.
a backhoe or a piece of machinery, the more you do it, the better you get at it, and if the more time away from it, you start losing your touch.
Yeah,
But I mean, I've always enjoyed that kind of stuff. So I mean, I'm not going to stop doing it.
That's good.
It's that's just something I like. I enjoy. So
Yeah, you still love to do that. You
right,
just get out there.
yeah, like a little kid,
Breaks up breaks up the bureaucracy that you have to
Right.
deal with on a day-to-day basis these days, and we'll talk about that a little bit. Labor, obviously, since we're already talking about labor, how are you overcoming a lot of the labor shortages now? I know that you don't have any, I mean, not that I know of, turnover-wise, your guys love working there. So how are you hiring now to get some
Yeah, I
spots
mean,
filled up?
we do have a little bit of turnover right now.
Okay.
Not necessarily in utilities and water and sewer, but our street department, we've had a couple guys that moved on to better positions or moved to a closer location where they live. Just more convenient for the employee itself. So I mean, we've had a little bit of turnover, but yeah, but the hiring process, it's strange. I mean, 5, 6, 7 years ago, we used to get hundreds of applications. Now, I mean,
Yeah.
we're lucky if we get 10. So
Wow.
it's a huge difference in the labor
Yeah.
pool that's out there, and not quite sure where where everybody's at, but
Everybody's doing TikToks.
right, yeah,
It's that day and age where no one wants to work. Everyone's
yeah.
doing
So
TikToking or
yeah,
whatever.
and
Who knows?
we've had some retirement as well too. So we've had people moving different departments. From the seems like a lot of the street guys will move over by us into underground utilities. They for something different. When we have a retirement on our
Yeah.
side, someone will move over from street, so we get a higher street department person. So, um, but yeah, so
Yeah.
like I said, a couple retirements and people moving on to different and better positions, things like that. So
Yeah. Well, that's good. I've met a bunch of your guys, and they're always very humble and awesome. Guys that I've seen, crew guys that I've worked with and hung out with,
yeah,
and it's good. They definitely love your leadership style, and you and Sean do a great job there, and it's pretty cool. How are you handling a lot of the bureaucracies that are out there, that you have to deal with by trying to change, get technology, for example? How are you getting new technologies into Lombard?
well, the challenge is always funding. The
Yeah.
just the way that the economy is right now. Purchasing big ticket items for stuff like flow sensors and cameras and all kinds of stuff. It's difficult with to get money for funding for it. But
Got it.
the biggest thing that we do is that we can justify um, the cost for it by doing cost savings by purchasing the equipment. If we
Yeah.
can show that there's a cost savings by using a piece of technology, it's a lot easier for us to secure the funding for it. But that's I think the biggest hurdle right now is funding for sure.
Yeah. It seems that way. Even though there's the infrastructure bill, not everybody's getting that money.
No, and
And
it's very slow coming down the pipe too.
yeah,
There is a lot of money out there, but it's a very slow process to get it, and it's I don't want to say it's a difficult process, but it's a very involved process to fill out the paperwork and make sure you're submitting the proper things. The low interest loans through the state, they definitely have their forms to fill out, and I mean we've done a few of the SRF loans, the state revolving funds from the state.
yeah,
Um, for a few projects, and once we've got them, they've been super easy to work with and manage. As far as doing all the paperwork for that, but it's a lot of work up front to do it to initially get it.
it's
So
it's amazing that we're still doing so much paperworking, but it is government. I get it. It's, we haven't changed
yeah, at least
digitally
the state doesn't
yet.
have their fax machine anymore.
That's a good thing.
Right.
Moving on up. Moving on up is it's a good thing. That's it's still amazing to me how much paper we use in government, and
Yeah.
hopefully, well, it's not hopefully, it's going to happen. Change has to happen. Technology is
Right.
happening, and government's going to have to jump on board or be left behind and be less efficient than what they are now. So, I
Right.
mean, it could make it worse. So, you're active in other organizations, AWWA, for example. Explain what you're doing with AWWA and kind of what you're doing with the hockey for water, water for hockey.
Yeah, no water, no hockey. Yeah,
no water, no
right.
hockey.
Yeah,
That's it right there. You've been a big proponent of that. How's that
yeah.
all going?
So, well, kind of going back with I got involved with the Illinois section of AWWA, American Water Works Association, a number of almost 10 years ago. Got on a couple different committees, and then I got nominated to be a board member for DuPage County back in was it 2014, 2015. So I got nominated. Then I was lucky enough to get voted or get elected as a board member, and then served as that, and then moved on to the executive board, which currently for this year I'm the chair of the Illinois section
Nice.
through March of next year at WaterCon is when we do our transfer over, and then I'll be the past chair for next year. So it's been really exciting. It's a very rewarding association to be with. You can do as much as you want or as little bit as you want. There's so many like micro volunteering things that you can do. You don't have to like necessarily join a full committee or be on the board. There's so much that you can do just to help out a little bit and get more involved. And then as it goes, then you can get on a committee or strive to be on the board. But it's been a great a number of years, and I'll be sad when it's over with. After next year, because it's been a big part of my life. But with that, I've been able to kind of start this no water, no hockey campaign, I guess what you call it. If people are familiar with AWWA, there's the no water, no ... campaign. There's a lot of things. No water, no beer is a big one. There's no water, no wine, no water, no whiskey, no water, no coffee, no water, no whatever you can think of. There's, that has something to do with water. There's a campaign for it. So hockey is my favorite sport. I mean, I've never played as a kid, but I've been playing as an adult for the past 15 years. My son plays; he plays for Western Michigan, so it's been a big part of my life for a while. And a couple of friends of mine who were retired Chicago police. They play on the police team, and they did a bunch of charity events. So I kind of try to think, what can we do to help kind of promote our industry as well in water and actually total water, because now AWWA is total water. So we're potable water, wastewater, stormwater, water reuse. We're total water. So one thing to help kind of promote our industry and what we do is I figured, if I start this, an Illinois section hockey team, and we can do some events, some like charity events that would help promote what we do in our industry, and also earn or try to raise a little bit of money for charity here or there. So we started doing some charity games. In 2018 was the first one we did, and had a few of them, and it's been going good. We played in a couple leagues. We have our and it always draws interest. Our jerseys are very vibrant colors. The blue and yellow and orange, and all the AWWA colors.
I've seen them.
It draws a lot of draws a lot of attention and a lot of questions. Because people don't know, it's like, what is that on your logo? What is that? So they start telling people about it, and like, oh wow, that's really interesting. So it's been a good vehicle to promote public awareness of what we do. So
no, that's amazing. First of all, that's awesome. Thank you so much for doing that, because people don't understand water shortages, issues with water, how valuable of a resource it is that we pretty much take for granted. Sometimes it's like, it's at your tap. They got it every day. Don't think about it. Right. So talking about more about water, a lot of cities, even in Illinois here, are having shortages of water, which is amazing. With the lake right next door, it's kind of, why would we have a water issue? But what's your perspective on why we have these issues the way they are, and what's your insight into some of this water shortage stuff?
Well, I think part of it is just the natural cycle of the environment. There's, probably the biggest area of concern in the United States is the Southwest. There are shortages out there. I mean, I was out in Vegas this past September, and we took a trip out to Lake Mead, and just seeing how low Lake Mead is, it's it's absolutely incredible and kind of scary how low the water is out there.
Yeah.
And then compared to when we come back to here in the Midwest, we got the Great Lakes, the largest freshwater, largest fresh groundwater supply or surface water in the entire world is right here in the Midwest, and we're so lucky. And
Yeah.
then we still have towns that are so close to the lake that they're well, and if they're on wells, they're going to run out of water in the next 20 years. I
Right.
know the city of Joliet is they're doing this huge infrastructure plan to get on Lake Michigan water.
Right.
Just because of the aquifer that's underneath us here that goes up all the way into Wisconsin and Minnesota is just not recharging as quick as the drought is.
Yeah.
So water conservation is a huge deal right now. Is water conservation, and also just good water stewardship is important. Because we start
Yeah.
continue to not protect our groundwater and our surface water, we're not going to have the supply that we have. So
Right. No, it's something that's like you said, Lake Mead, for example. I've seen some of those videos, and it's amazing. It's I don't. It's like almost gone. It
yeah,
seems like
it's
it's
great.
going to be gone in no
Yeah,
time. So that's amazing to me. What? Not only do we have a water shortage, but now we're talking about plastics, microplastics, things like that in our water systems. How do you like overcome these eventual object like issues that are going to come up with constituents in these cities and communities of why our water is contaminated?
yeah,
How would you what do you think about some of that stuff?
the forever chemicals, I think is what they call it, the
Yeah.
PFAS and PFOA that's been out in the news. Yeah,
Right.
that's going to be the next biggest thing after the lead crisis that we have now too. Um,
Yeah.
it's going to come down to better treatment levels, to pull out those microparticles that are in the water.
Yeah.
I'm definitely not smart enough to figure that out, but
Me neither.
I'm sure there'll be people, there'll be kids that are in school now that'll have come up with the technology to be able to filter that kind of stuff out. But yeah, yeah, it seems like every other day there's something new out there that we're finding that sins of the past really are coming to fruition now. So
Yeah. I mean, everything's plastic.
yeah,
There's nothing that's not plastic
right,
these days that I'm trying to look around. I was like, yeah, everything's pretty much plastic.
right.
What do you think about reverse osmosis plants, things like that we could be using? I think we had a drought in Decatur at one time, maybe 5, 10 years ago, maybe 10 years ago now. They were thinking about recycling the wastewater, right, and doing those type of putting water back into the system. Any kind of thought process on that?
Yeah, water reuse or water recycling is, I think, in the
Right.
next 10, 20 years is really going to become more prevalent, especially out, in the more drought-stricken areas, Southwest and even down Southeast. I mean, I know Georgia went through a huge drought a number of years ago. I know they've come back a little bit, but
Right.
yeah, I mean, it's water reuse, water recycling, even desalination plants.
Yeah.
If we can figure out a way to make desalination more efficient and more cost effective, I mean, geez, I mean, our, you know, 3/4 of the earth is covered in salt water. There's
That-
so much
I was
there.
gonna.
If we just crack that code, and figure that out, I mean, we'd be, you know,
I
yeah,
honestly can't believe we haven't figured that out yet.
yeah,
California, for one thing, the amount of money that's spent on infrastructure alone in California, and that goes back to like money, budget management, misappropriation of funds, things like that. When
right,
you're running into a water shortage, why aren't we investing into technology like desalination plants, things like that can use the ocean water to make clean water? I
right,
mean,
yeah,
those are big investments we should be making into those kind of tech. Kind of pivoting into construction and when you're doing types of procurement and you're looking for vendors, things like that, what are the things that you look for when you're looking to work with certain companies with the village?
Yeah, well, I think I can probably speak to everybody who works for a municipality or a government that's out there now knows how much of a pain it could be to when you're going out for pricing and quotes and bids and finding is this contractor reputable? Is he are they
Right.
not? What's we've all had headaches. We've all had bad contractors come in. So if the easier it is for us, the better. Because
Yeah.
we spend, I mean, I spend a lot of time, preparing bid documents and, you have to, once you're advertising, you got to wait 2 weeks to get bids back. And then, it could be a few months, by the time you're preparing everything and getting out to bid and waiting for the board to approve it and,
Yeah.
signing contracts and documents, everything. Yeah, it could be a pain. So, making that process more efficient, I think would make everybody's lives easier.
Yeah.
And
No
then just
doubt.
the not or getting rid of the unknowns that are out there. Because I think probably all of us have had a contractor come in that's lowballed everybody, and we're like, God, this has got to be too good to be true. What's
Right.
then you call their references, and of course, everybody picks up. Oh yeah, they've been great. They were wonderful work, and of course, they're going to give you your best. Their best clients for sure. So, and then
Right.
you award the job to them and they either never show up or they show up and their job is or their work is so shoddy that you end up throwing them out of town.
Right.
It's we all have experience doing that. So
That's
yeah, that's the
that's
unknown is bad.
yeah, that's hard to do. That's one thing I've experienced is working with other cities is throwing them out of town, as you just said. It's not as easy as it sounds because legally there's so many things that take
Right.
place. It's almost easier just to let them get the job done, from what I understand, and just never hire them again to do any more work. But cities don't challenge that. I've learned is like they won't go after or sue a contractor unless it's a something substantial. It seems like, but it doesn't seem like they'll go after maybe the little stuff unless it's a massive project. Then they'll sue them. But the little things, man, we just kind of let the contractor get away with it, and it's like, okay, well, you're just never going to work here, and then they go to the next place.
Yeah, sometimes it's cheaper for us, which is a sad thing. It's cheaper for us to just if especially if it's a small contract, pay it out, let them complete the work, and then even hire somebody else to fix what they did. It
Yeah.
would be cheaper than going through all the litigation to uh, to get any kind of reparations back from them. I mean, we can
Yeah.
always, if we require a bond for them, we can always cash their bonds in, but sometimes that doesn't cover enough of what the project, what the damage that they've done or non-work that they've
Right.
done. But a lot of the bigger projects, that are like multi-million dollar projects. I mean, yeah, I mean that's definitely worth spending the money to go after a bad contractor, but it's definitely not fun, and you never get what you are going after anyway.
Right.
Usually you'll settle out of court, and it's usually not for what you were looking for, but it's you know instead of making the lawyers rich, you can collect a little bit of money.
Yeah. Sometimes, like you said, it's just not worth it.
Yeah,
I totally get that. And
right.
is there a way to have, I guess, maybe a better way to qualify some of these guys that I know you said it, like you got to check the references and, you know, but they can, I mean, just from my experience of being in construction, like they asked when the government would ask us for our references, I'm like, okay, well, we're filling in all these cities, but technically, I mean, are they really actually calling the cities? Could we put in like Jane Smith and the
Right.
number? Like, is it really validated, like verified? Like, there's all kinds of ways to kind
Yeah,
of look at it.
I think that's the key word right there is verified. Um,
Yeah.
I know a lot of there's a lot of contractors out there that are IDOT approved. That the
Okay.
IDOT will have already did the vetting process and they have like their approval letter or whatever from the state,
Right.
which is always good. Sometimes we'll put that in to some of our documents that need to be IDOT approved. Um, but just a general verification. I mean, I think all of us, especially here in the Midwest and the Chicago region, I mean, we pretty much know all the big players that are out there for some of the bigger contractors that get most of the work in the area up here. We all kind of know who they are. It's the
Right.
ones that are maybe come from out of state or are a brand new company. They're trying to break into the industry.
Yeah.
Those, yeah, I mean, it'd be great. If there's some kind of certification level, that um,
They'd have.
that they can have saying, okay, yeah, they are actually who they are, and they're vetted. Kind of not to bring politics in this, but like the Twitter check mark or whatever that I don't know
Verified.
is
Yeah.
good or bad now. I don't know.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, something like that. I mean, that's
Yeah.
uh, would be beneficial just to help take some of the legwork off of us.
How do you, kind of going, well, staying with construction and procurement and now, going into engineering, you guys have your own engineering department, but you work with a lot of engineering firms. And, you know, I've noticed that there's a difference in engineering quality. I mean, let's face it, there really is. Can you speak a little bit on like the different experiences you've had with engineering firms and like, the good and bad kind of part of that?
Yeah. So what we do here in Lombard is, we go through a shortlist process. So every 3 years or so, we'll solicit out to engineering firms in the area that would be interested in getting on our shortlist, so that if we have a project go out, we don't need to do like a full RFQ. We can just go right to our short. Excuse me. We can go right to our shortlist and say,
Hmm.
give us a quick presentation. That way, we already know the engineering firm's qualifications, background, what type of work they can do, and we already approve them. But doing
Yeah.
that shortlist process is very time consuming, because we'll put out a couple projects for them to give us a proposal on, and then we just kind of review it, and then we'll choose on who's going to be in our shortlist. So,
Right.
um, I know there's probably just about every other municipality out there, is going to be kind of similar, that, they have a handful of engineering firms that they like doing work with, that they've worked for a long time and have good relationship with, um, and with the engineering staff that's on those different firms, we have a lot of experience with. So we kind of tend to stick, with some of the bigger ones for our bigger projects. But I know for us,
Right.
we try to, like, for some of the smaller projects that we have, I know that we've tried to solicit some of the smaller engineering firms that may uh, would be right in their wheelhouse for a smaller project. It's a smaller firm. They can kind of devote a little bit more attention to that, instead of some of these really big engineering firms that would kind of get lost in the shuffle a little bit. Maybe not have
Yeah.
as much of detail for such a small project.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that's fair. That's the best way to do it. Just shortlist them, qualify it, and then go from there. Do you? And we got a couple minutes left. Do you think that inspection of like infrastructure? How often do you think we're actually inspecting infrastructure, like bridges and things like that are important? I know we do sewer inspections, and it's hard to inspect a lot of water main, but I think there's technology out there that's making it easier for us to figure out where there's going to be water main breaks. But can you elaborate a little bit more on like your inspection processes there to figure out what infrastructure is going to be repaired, replaced in the future?
Yeah, a handful of years ago, we brought in on a asset management software that
Okay.
we put all of our assets in. We did a condition assessment with everything, and then as the years go on, and the management software gets built and more robust, it builds like uh, it can help plan us out
Planning.
if we're going to replace stuff. It'll give us a COI index, and we also, for all of our streets in town, we did a laser inspection where we drove up and down each street, and really got a good handle on all of our roadway conditions.
Nice.
Um, that our asset management software program will help us plan for when we're going to do capital projects and infrastructure. And most of our roadway programs are based upon the utilities underneath. So if we know that a utility
Right.
is bad, then we'll coordinate doing the utilities first and the roadway second, because the worst thing you want to do is pave a road, then the next summer dig it up again. It's,
that's terrible.
yeah, it's sometimes it
Then you got a bunch
happens.
of
It's
patches.
unnecessary or necessary evil sometimes, but we
Right.
try to avoid that at all costs. But yeah, I mean, so yeah, we locally you can have a much, it's a little bit easier locally to do more inspection, have a better inspection program. I know, like nationally or even statewide, it's a little bit more difficult just because there's so much out there. I think over the past 10 years, it's really the inspection process, I think, is ramped up quite a bit with some of the failures that have been out there. That bridge collapse in Twin Cities, in Minnesota, a few years.
We had that year 2005, I think.
Yeah, so I mean, there's been a lot of
Well, we had the bridge collapse in Pittsburgh
right. Yeah,
this year.
yeah. So I mean, it's just bills are coming due that you gotta redo some of this stuff. So
Yeah, I talk about the infrastructure gap. Most cities, and you guys seem to be more proactive in having a lot of asset information, which is critical. But there's a lot of cities that do not have any asset data out there. That they can actually put together a planning, financial asset planning portion to it because they just don't have the data. So you guys seem to like you got a lot more insight to what's going to happen in Lombard, which is awesome. Most cities should move to that direction. I was going to ask you if you had the ability to fix one type of infrastructure, what would that be? Like you could replace all of it right now.
all of it right now, huh? It's, can I do everything? I gotta pick one, huh?
You could replace the roads, water, sewer, bridges, whatever. Like, is there one that you would like think about that you could replace?
Um,
And unlimited funds.
Unlimited funds, probably on the water side.
Okay.
Especially now with the lead service line replacement, that's going to be huge for a lot of communities. We're relatively lucky here in Lombard that we don't have that many of them, but that's the closer you get to Chicago, the collar suburbs and uh, around Chicago, the farther east of you get of say 294, the more lead service lines there are, just because their communities are older.
Right.
Right. Yeah, and just the cost to replace all that is insane. And water quality. I mean, that's water's life. It's
Yeah.
nothing could live without water. So I mean, that's if you can replace the entire water system, the entire country or world. I mean, that's to ensure good, safe drinking water for everybody.
Yeah.
I think that's probably the number one. And I think sewer is the very close second. Wastewater. Because there's a lot of bad stuff uh, that can come out of, especially sanitary sewer. A lot of disease, bacteria, things like that. And it's nobody wants the sewer back up either, so it's not fun.
Definitely not.
But treating the wastewater to get back into our drinking water supply. That's the water cycle. So they're kind of all the same. But
Right. They go hand in hand.
yeah,
Really, they do.
They definitely go hand in hand because and like we talked a little bit ago, I think the next couple decades there's gonna be a lot of water reuse out there and water recycling. That's
Yeah.
a lot of wastewater that's going back into our drinking water. So
It's gonna be crazy to think about that
yeah,
was just recycled and it's in your faucet.
yeah,
So- but it's bound to happen. I mean, why not? If we can do it, supplement a lot of the water that we're using that in our aquifers, that we can just recycle it and then fill in from the aquifers as we need.
Yeah.
Because there is going to be evaporation and loss some places. That's the way it's going to be.
Yeah, and you
But-
kind of think about it. The environment's been doing it for millions of years. Before us.
Yeah.
There's only been a certain amount of water on this planet, and it's not
Right.
we can't like really make any more, and so it's been going and going and around in circles for millions of years. And I read like a fun fact thing about water is that there's a pretty good chance that some of the water that we drink that maybe a dinosaur drank, a couple hundred
That's
million years
crazy.
ago. So it's,
Yeah,
if you think of it that way, it's like, holy crap, it's water's been recycled for millions of years just through the
it's
environment.
true.
So we just need to speed up the process a little bit. All right.
Yeah, for sure. Well, that's pretty much the time we have, Brian. I appreciate you joining me. Lots of great, conversations there, and
Yeah.
this is a great opportunity. Thank you so much for coming on board. If you kind of want to give, is there a contact? Is there any information you want to promote? AWWA with your hockey. Go ahead and let the audience know.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. For the folks out there, if you're not familiar with AWWA, if you work in the water industry, hopefully you do know who that is. But yeah, I mean, if you're not a member already, we're always welcoming, and come on aboard, join the Illinois section. We're the fourth largest section in the entire in all of AWWA out of all 43 sections. So we're the fourth largest, and I think we're the best section out of all of them. So we definitely
There's
have a
no
lot of
bias
fun.
there at all.
But yeah, so we contact us. You got anybody, if they can always contact me. I'm happy to talk to anybody about anything, infrastructure, management, mentoring,
Is there a website for? Sorry, is there a website for AWWA?
Yes. For the Illinois section, it's isawwa.org. So
Awesome.
isawwa.org. That's for the Illinois section.
Okay.
And then, yeah, I mean, if you have any questions for me, you can always contact me. My email is jackb@villagelombard.org. You can always find me there, and and look out. I mean, if people are going to go up to ACE in Toronto, the AWWA National show up in Toronto, we're going to be having a charity hockey game up there against the Ontario section.
Awesome.
So a little scared of those Canadians, but it'll be a good time. We'll hold around.
That's great, Brian. Well, thank you so much, man, for being on the Hot Seat podcast. This is a great conversation, and look forward to our future conversations, guys. I have a feeling there's a lot more things we could be talking about.
Absolutely.
And thank you so much for being here.
All right. Well, thanks for having me, Chad.
Thank you for listening to the Infrastructure Hot Seat podcast. We hope that this show brought you some insight on relevant topics within the infrastructure world. Please join us every 2 weeks on Tuesday for the next episode. If you're interested in being a guest on this podcast, please set up a 15-minute interview with your host at calendly.com/Chad Smeltzer.